Right, so we're going to talk about comparing rational numbers. First thing is to convert fractions to decimals. So there's a really easy way on your calculator that I'm going to show you in class. But to get the basic understanding, you have to use long division, right? So, and to figure out what goes where, the top number is the dividend. And the bottom part is the divisor. So what that means is the top goes inside the division bar and the bottom goes outside. So looking at that, top goes inside, this goes outside, right? And then we just have to do long division. Think about, does 2 go into 1? No, right? So you're going to put a 0 there. But we still have that 1. So we can't, it doesn't just go away, right? We put a point there. If we put a point there, we got to put a point there. And then a 0, right? So that rings some bells. And now we have to think about, okay, does 2 go into 10? Yes, 2 goes into 10 5 times, right? So then we minus 10 and we get 0. So you keep on doing long division until you get a 0. Then we know that 1/2 is 0.5. All right. So remember, the top goes inside, the bottom goes outside. And I want you to try example 1 on your own. So pause and try that now. Okay, so maybe you got to here, you put the point and the 0, and 4 goes into 37 times. But now we have a 2 left over, right? So we can add another 0 and bring it down. So now we're thinking, how many times does 4 go into 20? It goes 5 times, and that gives us a 0. So 3/4 is 0.75. All right, so example 2 is not that different. The only difference is that we have this -2 out front. And with whole numbers, we don't really need to do anything. They just come out front. So we'll put -2 point, and then we're going to do the fraction, right? Where the 3 goes in the inside, the 8 goes in the outside, and I have to do that. So try to figure out how many times, what 3/8 is as a decimal. Okay, so pause and try that. All right, so perhaps you got 0.375. So now all we do is add that onto the end of our 2 point something, right? Because we already have the whole number of 2 and 2.375. Again, whole numbers, all you have to do is put a point, and then you could add a 0, because this one doesn't have that fraction part. This is just a -5.0. So now we're going to talk about converting decimals to fractions. There's a couple of things that are important here. First, we always put them over a base of 10, 100, or 1,000, or so on and so forth. The other thing is always put our fractions in simplest form. Okay, so just to review, this first decimal is the tenths place. The second decimal place is the hundredths place. Okay, the tenths and the hundredths place. And then if there's a third one, it'd be the thousandths, the fourth one, 10,000, so on and so forth. But we'll only do up to 1,000. Okay, so since this 6, the second number, is in the hundredths place, we're going to do 36 over 100. And then we have to simplify that. So there's going to be a way in the calculator to make it a little easier, but you should know first that they're both even numbers, so they're at least divisible by 2. But I also know that 36 and 100 are both divisible by 4. And 36 divided by 4 gives me 9. And 100 divided by 4 gives me 25. Okay? So I want you to try example 4 on your own. Okay? Try example 4 on your own, simplifying it. Okay? Hopefully you got -2/5, because we know that 4 is in the tenths place, and then we could divide both of those by 2. So this is the tenths, the hundredths, and then this is the thousandths. So we would do 234 over 1,000. And then think about, what can I divide those both into? I don't really know. So I'm going to start by dividing by 2 because I know they're both even. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. 34 divided by 2 is 17. 1,000 divided by 2 is 500. And then I know I can't simplify that any further. Okay. So I want you to try example 6. There's not really any difference except for that whole number. So try to figure out what that does for us. So hopefully you got 1/10 from the 0.1. And then because of this -5, we just put that out front. So it becomes a mixed number, -5 and 1/10. Example 7 is the complicated one. Okay, because you may notice something super important on the top of that 3, right? You see that repeating bar? That repeating bar means something. It means that instead of over a base of 10, 100, or 1,000, we put it over a base of 9, or 99, or 999. So the repeating bar gives us a new base. So this wouldn't be -3 over 10. It would be -3 over 9 because this is the first decimal. So it'd go to 9. So pretty much instead of the tenths, it's the nines. And then we can simplify that, right? Divide them both by 3. And you get -1/3. Okay, and again, there's an easy way to do all this on your calculator, so don't stress too much. So now we're going to put that into practice. Example 8 is to order them from least to greatest. One thing here is, well, 2 things, that we always want to convert everything to decimals first. So convert everything to decimals, and then when we order in original form. Okay, so that's important to remember. So I want you to take a moment and try to find the decimals for these 3 parts, okay? So take a moment and try to find those decimals. All right, so I showed all my work over here on the side. So if you need to see that work, go for it. But we should have got -3.3, 3.2, -3.5, and 3.6. And now we order them from least to greatest. So remember, the bigger the negative, the actually smaller it is. So this is going to be our number 1, our number 2, our number 3, and our number 4. But remember, we have to put it in order in our original form. So it's got to be -3.5, then -3.3 repeating, then 3 1/5, and then the square root of 14. Okay. And remember they're negative, so they go first. For these ones, find the decimals and then compare them using greater than, less than, equal to. Okay, so I think you could try those on your own, so try those. All right, so there's the answers. And make sure you ask any questions.